Likewise, when we're talking about the three options, if the units were to be deployed by personnel from the jurisdiction, Washington could train or would train that personnel to accomplish this same setup.
Yes, there would be technical training on setting up the system.
So anyone can be trained to set up the system. Isn't that fair?
Yes.
After the system is then set up, as you just described, in the case of a manned unit, what does the operator manning the unit do?
They have the potential to do nothing. The system operates in an automated fashion once it's set up.
And by an automated fashion, what do you mean?
The trigger speeds are set. When a vehicle crosses the radar beam, the system triggers. The images are captured, encrypted, and housed or transmitted.
Well, why then is there an option that calls for the units being manned, whether by Washington personnel or personnel from the jurisdiction? Why would the units be manned?
I could only speculate on what a jurisdiction would want. Washington incurs tremendous labor expense by manning these units. I will say even in the earlier versions, and I've talked to speed van operators, they read books. You might manage because there are some additional statistics that you could run. We've set up the units so if a jurisdiction mans it, they can even review and authorize citations so they're not just sitting there. Beyond those elements, there isn't a real practical sense to why they need it to be manned.
Let's look at a couple of more statements in the RFP here that I would just like to have you clarify for me. On 56, talking about additional features, and the additional feature there specifically is window tinting. Is there some significance to mentioning this feature in the proposal?
2 points come to mind. One would be the climate control. Vehicles, especially in Alaska, have all around tenting due to the heat. The second is that our operators are trained and told to not interact with the general public. So if somebody would come by the unit, we prefer that they don't interact with the individual.
And so when this section says the windows behind the driver's door can be tinted to minimize the visibility of the operators, is what you're telling me that tinted windows are intended to do, for lack of a better word, conceal the operator's presence inside the unit from potential protesters or drivers or violators who are seeking a confrontation?
Just not even confrontation, even asking how it works or general education, they're not allowed to speak or interact with those individuals. And yes, it is an attempt to conceal or minimize that desire of somebody to ask them a question.
Was this a feature that was original to the Washington Mobile Radar Units system, or was this a feature that was added in response to some type of incident or event that occurred?
The image of this is from San Jose as it's outlined. It predated the DPS proposal. Is this in response to something that took place? I'm not aware.
On the next page, Erin, and talking continuing to talk about features, there is a discussion about safe vehicle.
Yes.